That's a good title. I was thinking that on the drive over, like getting out of your own way. Getting out of your own way. There's so many times in my own life that I just get in my own way. And that for me has been in a performance place, like in football, but just coming back to the present moment. Like right here is beautiful. This is it's an amazing place. Like we're on the edge of a cliff and it's so beautiful. And I just think in my life, how many moments that I've been in that have actually been really beautiful, but I've kind of got in my own head and I've stopped that from letting me go to a place. And it's actually going to be really, really cool. But off that inspiration, do you want to start with a meditation?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah. We'll go through a present moment one. You can tell me how it is after. And it's going to start by taking an awareness just of the breath, not changing it at all. Just noticing the coolness of the air on the nose as you breathe in. And the very slight warmth of the air as you breathe out. And then in your mind's eye, going down to the left foot. And just noticing the feeling of space that's inside the left foot. It might be a tingling, it might be a hollowness. Just noticing the feeling of space. And you can expand that to the right foot. So now you're feeling the feeling of space inside both feet at the same time. And expanding that awareness up into both legs. So now I'm feeling the feeling of space in both the left and the right leg at the same time. And I can expand that awareness up into my body. So my hips, my torso, my chest. Feeling the feeling of being inside the body. What is that feeling of space? And expanding that awareness to the arms, both the left and the right arm, the left hand and the right hand. Just resting in the awareness of the feeling of space inside your body. Finally moving that up to the head. What's the feeling of space behind the eyes and in between the ears? And resting in the awareness of the feeling of being inside the entire body all at the same time. And while holding that awareness of the feeling of space inside the entire body, now begin to notice very softly the sounds around me. Could be a bird, could be the sound of a wave crashing. And as soon as it arises, just letting them go as quickly as it comes. I'm feeling the feeling of space inside my body. and noticing the sounds. And then gently opening the eyes and letting them rest on the first thing that you see. Now I'm matching all three awarenesses, the feeling of space inside my entire body, the noticing of the sounds around me, and taking in what I see. And if I maintain those three awarenesses, that is the present moment. There's actually nowhere else to be. And that for me feels like a really nice place to be.
Yeah, that's the place to begin.
The place to begin and end.
Yeah.
So how do you become present? How do you enter the present moment? What's that journey been for you?
Just letting go of control. Just noticing the sensations in the body, basically sinking into that process that you just laid out so well. My starting point was Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now, and he narrated that book, and just listening to that on repeat hundreds, if not thousands of times. At any point, his voice just took me down and sinking and into that field of awareness, and it's a beautiful place to rest.
It's that book seems to be such a powerful place where so many people have started that journey. You know, I feel it's a term that's used a lot now, but with good reason. That feeling of waking up, almost pulling you out of that unconscious, programmed pattern way of being in the world, which at least for me in my experience is that programming is really based in fear and lack and separation. And it wasn't until listening to things like that and finding those different pointers where you're pulled out of that world and you're like, oh, whoa, this place right now is actually pretty cool.
You know, you said at the beginning how beautiful it is, and there was an agreement that came up inside me. But really dropping in and getting in touch with all those, or who I really am, is that witnessing presence. Now all the little things come alive. Like when you see, what did you notice when you first opened your eyes? It was just the grass blowing in the wind, and it just took me back to really the beauty is in the presence, is in the witnessing presence, and it can be. It doesn't actually have to be a destination such as this. It could be something. You could be anywhere in the world. You could be in jail, and just noticing. I don't know,
the ripples of the paint on the wall. Those things are good because they're. I think using extreme examples like really drives it home. Like you really could be in a prison, and if you were present, there's still things to notice. There's still things to notice. I think that's so powerful because that is available to you anywhere, at any place, in any time. And at least for me in my life, it feels my only job is just to remember that.
Absolutely.
And remove my resistance to accepting that, because when I feel like I'm kind of caught in the ego and I'm like forcing things and things need to work, I don't want to acknowledge that. I'm like, go away. Get out of the way. And it's like, no, okay, I just can let those moments go. And every place is really beautiful. It was, for somebody who maybe doesn't know that, was tennis a big part of your journey to coming to that realization? Like, was that part of your life and that identity a big journey to presence?
Well, really feeling that and really connecting with that deeper sense of self was after I finished playing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, after I finished playing on tour, and it was when I was coaching. I was in Philadelphia. I was driving about an hour from my house in Reading, Pennsylvania, down to the city, and I'd put on Eckhart Tolle in loop, and I'd noticed my connection to people, and it was very simple. It felt like a real connection to everything I was doing. My coaching became very clear. My communication became clear. And that sense of really striving to help someone kind of fell away. It was just really being with them in that moment. And then I took that onto the court as a player, and I ended up winning 70 matches and lost 3. And it was super effortless. It was incredible to reflect on my career as a player, where there was so much pushing, so much striving. And when I recognized that there was a meditative way to play, everything became easier. The game slowed down. And then from there, the joy of playing could really come alive. So it was the presence that was the foundation for unlocking my true potential.
Was there some sense of grief in finding that after you'd finished playing professionally? Did that spark any looking back and a thought of, far out, like what could that have experience been like if I knew that, if I had that information?
Maybe a little bit of a curiosity, but not something that I was really disappointed with, because I think it's made me a better coach, is to really reflect and see myself in that emotional and mental turmoil, and then the other side of that, and then just guiding or pointing at that for players to unlock theirs.
Those are always my favorite teachers, the people who have, Ido Portal talks about that a lot. I don't know if you've seen that guy, as the movement guy who did a lot of the stuff with McGregor, like in the early days. And I heard something in a podcast, in a talk with him once, and he was saying, like, search for people with skin in the game, like with real skin in the game, because anybody can talk about theories and ideas and practices, but it's the people who have actually lived it. And I think hearing somebody talk about presence who spent a lot of their elite times not being present, like really, really understanding that feeling makes it more powerful, because you've been there. You know what it is to, like, I was watching you coach that session the other day, and I love that concept of talking about spiraling. And I think the best concepts are the best concepts because everybody can understand them, because there's a deeper level of truth to them. Like, listening to you talking about not performing well and spiraling just hit me, because I have a PhD in spiraling. And it's so easy to do, and it's just this eternal feedback loop of, I made the mistake, I made the mistake, and then that propagates another mistake, but now you're 2 mistakes deep. So then you throw the Hail Mary, which is the low percenter, like, which is in tennis, right? Like the ripping the forehand down the line when the ball's high and it's been hit to you with topspin and it goes wide, and then you're like, fuck, now you're 3 mistakes deep. And all of a sudden, like, you're 2 sets down and you're like, oh my God, like, what is going on? And there's times where, like, everybody's been there. It's the bombing. It's the just face planting, and the great part of that is, like, cultivating presence allows you to drop that, and it allows you to almost drop the outcome. It may not even change the result, but it completely changes the internal state.
Absolutely.
The internal state is very different, What were the parts, when you reflect on your, like, professional playing career, what did that look and feel like for you? Do you remember those moments? Do you remember the resistance?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of videos on the, or not videos, more photos on the internet. There wasn't Instagram or Facebook back then. But actually, a player sent me photos of myself the other day, and with the racket out of my hand, the anguish on my face. I was actually biting the net at one point during the third round of the Australian Open. That's the match that I refer to because I guess there's a little bit of media out there. Yeah, so you can literally see through the photos the ups and the downs during that match. 4 sets, lost in 4, but I wasn't there really playing for myself. I was playing for the crowd. I was just like making sure, are you having a good time? I'm playing the number 4 in the world, Nikolai Davydenko, and yeah, I really had no tools, no concept of really landing and sinking in my body and really feeling, those sensations and being present within myself. I didn't have any idea about that. So all I knew to do was just to push, try harder. I mean, that's a lot of the messages that come through the coaching, field. And a lot of it, as you were pointing to, is just sort of regurgitated and, it's theory, like just that we have to try harder. But in reality, it's actually the other way. It's kind of try less. It's show up, connect with who you are, and you'll notice that you've got oodles of energy. I think at that time I was, one of the fittest players on tour. I worked very hard. But I tell you how much energy I burned it was just incredible. So, I guess to understand now that there was another way is slightly disappointing, but yeah, as I said, it made me who I am.
You wouldn't
now.
be here, right, on the side of a beautiful mountain,
Yeah.
on the side of a cliff face.
Exactly.
The thing I really attached to in that was, presence is for you, and the outward show of anger is for others. And I was going to ask you that because I went through a stage when I was younger playing football that when I made a mistake, I play as a striker, so if I missed a shot or I missed a goal, I would scream out and like look at the sky, and I would yell. And when I actually noticed that, I was like, why am I doing that? Because this is kind of carrying on. And I realized it wasn't actually because I was annoyed. If I got to the deeper part of it, I wanted to show other people that I cared about missing. Because when I missed the shot and I went, oh, like, fuck, that for me was showing the coach that I cared enough about the miss. And if I really went to me, I was only doing that because I was scared that if I didn't show that I cared, I wouldn't make the team, which is actually just fear. And that just created more fear. So I missed another chance and I got to do the whole act again. And then I kind of just woke up from that and snapped out of it and thought, I'm just doing this show for other people. And it's actually really quite silly. It's really silly, and it's very interesting to notice also how many other people try and put those things onto you. Like I had a great example last night at training where somebody played me a ball and there was a constraint in the drill where I had to shoot first time. I couldn't take a touch. Somebody gave me a really tricky ball and it was really challenging to deal with and I missed it. But I clapped him anyway. I was like, well done for getting in that spot to even be able to play the pass. Good energy. And my coach yelled out and said, no, you should be angry there. And I, as a younger person, I would have just accepted that and be like, yeah, fair, I should rip into him and say this and rah, rah, rah. And I actually said openly, like, I actually called him an evil wizard, which is probably not great. It's like, don't cast your evil wizard spells on me. Like, how bizarre is that, saying you should feel this way? I was like, no, that I shouldn't actually feel that way. I'm present here. I'm enjoying things. This is a gift. Like, I'm not going to be able to play at this level in this moment forever. What a joy. I'm going to be an old man at one point wishing that I could just be back here because here is amazing. It's Thursday night. I'm fucking freezing. That's how beautiful. Playing a sport that I love, and I love how you talk about, the presence is actually you. It's generated by you, and in turn that goes on to affect everything. You know? How do you take people through that as a coach?
I just remind them during the session. I ask them, what do you notice? What do you feel? What sensations? Where is your awareness right now? And then 2 seconds later, I'll ask them again, and the awareness has shifted, which it naturally does. You know, like right now, I feel my feet on the ground. Then I just notice the birds fly by. Now I notice my right arm. You know, so, and in doing so, that just points them into that feeling of presence and who they really are. And then from there, we can actually start to build the art form, the you know, this is where I used to see the sport as a competitive battlefield. Now I see it as a dance and a play, and you know, so and I just feel like that's where the real, you know, the real art, the real depth of what anyone's doing, whatever it is. It can be tennis, football, you know, boxing,
Board
anything,
meeting.
board meeting, yeah, whatever. And I think, yeah, the beauty can rise when presence is laid.
When you say helping them find who they really are, who is that?
I would say the witnessing presence of what's happening in the moment, without the stories, without the layers of what they've been taught as younger people, as you know, from their parents, from society. You know, helping them remove those filters, and uncover who they really are, which is always there, but just needs to be remembered.
Do you think there's something? Do you think that's them, or do you think there's something deeper behind them that they're opened up to receiving when they do get out of their own way, when they do cultivate a presence?
Well, say that again.
Do you feel like when you say finding who they truly are, do you think there's something deeper behind that? Once they remove, let's say, all the noise, and once they tap into the signal, do you think that's coming from them, or do you think that opens them up to receiving something from a different place?
It's opening them up. It's allowing them to be available to connect with, connect with a greater power. And then, you know, I always said when I found that, that present connection with what I was doing, I was allowing something to play through me, where it wasn't the ego playing anymore. It was just love and appreciation for something greater. And then when there was the addition of visualizing what would be fun to see, like a backspin drop shot. It goes, you know, up over the net, bounces back over. I mean, the physics inside of that is pretty incredible. There was an execution. It played out, and I was in awe that that was the ultimate of me getting out of the way and allowing that larger entity to play through me. And it was mind blowing.
I really do connect with that. So it is my belief that we are infinitely powerful beings. You know, at the cellular level, we have enough energy in us to boil every ocean in the world, like within us right now. Like, actually thinking about that is insane. The odds of us being here with this awareness, as you said, thinking about, if you were to really break down the nitty-gritty and the physics of hitting that slice drop shot over the net at this time with that pace on the ball while the opponent's in that part of the court, it is unfathomable. And if we let go of it, that universal power, that source, God, love, the universe, whatever you want to label it, is able to be channeled. And I'm so interested in people who have connected to that or realized that within themselves. Like, the Beatles talk about that. They found their greatest songs in dreams. Rick Rubin spends the first hour of his day treading water in the pool, just listening to just random things so he can channel that source. I love the saying, I think it's Lao Tzu, the great Tao shines everywhere, both to the left and the right. It loves and nourishes all things, but does not lord it over them. And when merits are accomplished, it lays no claim to them. It's like being open to receive that power. And then once you receive it, not attaching to it with ego, not being like, oh, how great am I? Really understanding the beauty of letting go and surrendering and actually being in a world where we can receive that and channel that. Because what happens is amazing.
Absolutely.
You get to bring your art into the world, and what a different frame.
Can I just stop you there? I feel that channel pouring through you. I mean, these are words of wisdom. And I mentioned it the other day when you were on court speaking with the younger players at the sports college. I said, you're speaking from your heart. And I asked them, can you feel it? And it was kind of a few blank faces. And we spoke about this, but I was about to say, oh, wow, that's not from your heart. That's from the universe. That's coming from that higher power. But then we spoke about in society, almost stopping that conversation rather than just letting that transmission through and allowing those words to come out, even if it's not understood in the moment. But there is a part of that audience that does get that, because it is truth. And, there was no ownership that you were speaking those words.
It really feels like that, saying it as well. Like if I was to try and sit down and write that intentionally, I don't feel that I could actually write that because it's not coming from me. It's not there, as you said. That really feels like a truth. They're not my words. And as I was saying that stuff, I'm feeling, as you said, my feet on the ground. I'm feeling the wind. I'm seeing different birds come through, and it just opens you up to be able to speak from the heart and speak from the universe. And I think when, as you said, it's maybe not accepted societally to say that stuff, but I think as soon as we get in, that's almost us getting in our own way, and it cuts off the message. And because we're so concerned about things being received, being concerned about things being received is a trick of the intellect, because the most profound things that have ever been said to me aren't things that I go away and think about. They're things that I feel deeply to my core as soon as they're said. And I don't need to think about it because it's already been understood, and it feels like it's been understood in here. It's a really interesting thing when you're able to cultivate that presence. And I loved what you said the other day after that session. It's not about things being understood all the time. It's about opening yourself up to channel those things and then just planting seeds. And the tree will grow when it grows. It doesn't need to be always understood.
Yeah.
Do you find that in coaching people? Like, how do you've coached different professionals, right? How have you found that energy and those ways of talking and being have been received?
I think at times there's old patterns of trying and efforting that come from me, and that that's me, the ego, just that old way of how I showed up can come through with a lot of effort, intensity. And I was particularly with a story with Max Purcell. I had that tendency of creeping closer and closer on the court, trying to affect the play, trying to help him. And he was like, "Give me some space." And I was like, "Okay," and I took those words on. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I recognize that I am smothering him." So I stepped back went back to the fence, literally removed my body from the court and just allowed him hit that space. And then I started chanting around him. And that just come to me. And, this mantra, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. I forget what it actually means right now, but I'm chanting
Having
around
forgotten
him.
is not the same as having never learned, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I just,
You're actually chanting this around him as he's on court training.
It was around the Australian Open time. I think it was 2021, 2022, something like that. But it was the year him and Luke made the final of the Australian Open. It felt like that mantra was building this field around him and Luke to fall into. And I don't know whether that's a mind construct or whatever, but it was I believe that those words had energy that that allowed them to really feel free on the court, enjoy what they did, and it was I don't know, an unorthodox method that I don't think is used too often by many coaches, but it just felt right in that moment.
I love that concept of, doing what, and especially at that level, I find the higher you kind of go, wherever it is, whether that be a workplace environment or whether that be a professional sporting environment, the higher you go, the more serious people get and the more attached people get to concepts. And it's really out of fear. It's really, I feel if you get to the deeper level of those things, you have to do this amount of conditioning, or you need to do these tactics, or you need to be training at this time, or rah, rah, rah. It's not to say that structure's bad, but it disconnects us from the feeling of what actually feels right. As you said, you felt like you were creating a space and an energy and crafting this environment for people to fall into. You don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to say anything to them. You don't have to change how they are. You just have to cultivate your own presence. And as you said, that on paper as a method in the tennis world is fucking insane. Like most people would look at that and go, like, what? You know what I mean? Like 99% of people would look at that and go like, what is that? And they wouldn't understand it, and that's fine. But I love, like, Paul Chek, one of my greatest mentors, is like, use your heart to feel what you know. And there's a great story of him of rehabbing Robbie Madison. Robbie Madison, the professional motocross rider, like freestyle FMX guy, had popped a rib, and it was actually in his aorta. And the surgeons refused to do surgery because they said, if we move it, it'll move your rib and it'll puncture your heart and you'll die on the table. So stop riding, like stop even running. Like don't, just be happy with that. Be thankful that you're alive. And he found Paul Chek, and the story is he rehabbed him. He got him doing some breathing and got him doing this exercise. And Robbie says, like, I felt it and I heard it. The rib just popped and it went back into place.
Wow.
And he's healed. He went back to motocross riding. And somebody did a post on that on Instagram the other day talking about what Paul did, and was kind of thinking and asking, I wonder what that method was that Paul used, because he's a smart guy. And Paul replied to in the comments, I asked my soul what to do, and my soul told me that he needed this. So I asked, is that true? And I got a big yes, and we did it, and it worked. And so many people would see that and be like, that guy is insane. That's almost reckless. It's like, because you didn't follow, you have one of the smartest, potentially one of the greatest physical therapists to have ever lived. And when you ask him, you think he's going to be like, well, I read this textbook and I knew that happened. And he just sits there with a smile. He's like, I asked my soul and it told me.
That's awesome.
Because you're using it to feel, and because he is somebody who truly understands that if you cultivate the vessel for yourself, the universe fills that with any answer that you need. And
I have a personal story exactly along these lines, where I was in hospital so I had an aortic aneurysm that exploded 12, well, longer now, 14 years ago.
Far out, yeah.
And, you know, yeah, ultimately I should have died, but the surgeon in Pennsylvania was able to save me. And yeah, so years later, it was probably, last year I had palpitations in the heart. And so I was in hospital with, what's it called? I had to have an ablation, but
SVT, is it?
Yeah, no, I had what's it called? There was scar tissue that was forming around the heart that was causing these arrhythmias, and then I needed to have a cardioversion, and so where they put the paddles on and they shock the heart back into rhythm. So I was in the room, and a cleaner came in and said, you know, you can meditate your heart back into rhythm. So I took that on.
The guru, right? The guru appears as the cleaner.
Yeah, amazing.
as the humble cleaner, yeah.
So I was like, well, that's in my wheelhouse. I'll take that on and I'll actually practice that. So I set up the computer with a video of the heart beating correctly, powerfully, all those kind of vibrant colors. And and I dropped in and visualized the heart. And occasionally I'd look up and look at the screen and just get that rhythm happening. And then the next day, as I was being wheeled down to surgery, the doctors, they're about to put the paddles on. They're like, your heart's back in rhythm. How did that happen? And I told them, I was meditating and visualizing for the last 5 hours. And they're like, no, there's no way that happened. They couldn't believe that story. But yeah, that's truth. And it's, just amazing that when you put yourself in alignment with the universe, with that greater power, what can happen, and that healing is enabled. Get out of the way, or, and use the mind and, create the world that you want to see. And that's what I did. And
that is one incredible story, and for me, I've been thinking about this concept a lot recently, like the almost the religion and dogmatic religion of science. And it's really funny that those people, let's say, would be like science-minded and would say, in one breath, no, that couldn't have happened, but then also would believe a theoretical physicist when they say, well, all the known universe is made up of matter, but that matter is comprised of 5% of the known universe, because we had to create this theory of dark matter, which is actually 95% of the universe, for our theory of the 5% to even work. So like you're comfortable telling me that 95% of all matter, everything in creation, is unmeasurable and unseeable, untouchable, unknowable.
Yeah.
And something as amazing as that can't exist just because we can't measure it or know it or see it or touch it. It's that's a really bizarre. I find that really funny.
You can see, like from the doctor's point of view. I mean, they've learned this, that A equals B equals C, throughout their career, and this should add up to this equation. And there's no way that this thing that this story that's.
I have a lot of empathy for that. Like, what a terrifying thing to let go. What a terrifying thing to let go. I do find that in my practice sometimes as a Czech practitioner. Like I talk to people who have sunken so much of their life and sacrificed so much in their studies, and really from an intention of helping people. And then somebody comes along and says like, yeah, well, you're going to have a heart surgery, but the tissue of the lungs have a very close relationship to the heart. When you breathe, it compresses and it changes the pressure in every valve and around the whole heart. And this person has a chronic breathing pattern disorder, which reflects the blood gases, which changes the composition of all your hormones, everything, right? And it's like, and they're like, no, it needs to be a surgery. It needs to be this. So I can understand like having somebody coming along in 2 seconds being like, well, maybe there's more to it. And you'd be like, no, don't you understand? I spent 12 years learning that it was this way. Like, I don't know if I would want to relinquish that either. That would actually be a really challenging thing to do.
Well, I actually had the thought about your coach yesterday that you mentioned that said you should be angry with that shot. You know, I mean, he's just operating from what he's learned. And something that I use a lot is just, just trying to put myself in someone else's shoes and, and know that's not possible, but trying to relate to where they've come from and how they'd have that belief. And that makes me empathetic and just that ability to connect with them with understanding rather than judgment. And I think that's an important, trait that one can strive for.
It takes you out of the victim, right? It's like he wasn't doing that to me. That was just a flowing of all of the experiences that he's had. And once you see that and you come back into yourself, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually here because I love this. I'm here because I love it. And then you can see it in other people and you go, man, this poor guy thinks that like the whole world is dependent on that one pass on Thursday at Mingara. Oh man, far out. Like that would actually be pretty tough. That would be tricky. Like that's because that changes people's state. And as you said, you can look at people with empathy because you can begin to understand why you're there. And then I can also begin to understand like, oh, far out. If he has that and that's his shadow and he can't see it, what's my shadow? Like how much suffering and things do I proliferate into the world? And you can just let it go. You're like, oh, okay. Like that's not something that I need to be really attached to. And it was amazing being at that session on Wednesday with those younger players because I went to the sports college as a student and then I coached there for 5.5 years. And there's a student athlete there who I used to coach in football, and I found him at that time to be very difficult. So I just gave him what all my coaches gave to me. And I used to bark at him for not doing the thing that I wanted him to do. That's what it really was at the end of the day. He wasn't doing the thing that I wanted him to do because I thought if he didn't do the thing that I wanted him to do, maybe my boss will see him not doing that and think it's a reflection of me, which is actually a deep insecurity that I think a lot of people and coaches in my experience have and rest in. And I got to actually apologize to him the other day. And I said, man, I don't know if you, because he said to me, oh, Jake, do you remember what I used to be like as a kid? And I was like, yeah, I do, man. And he was like, oh, I'm really sorry for that. Hey. And I said, no, please don't apologize to me for a second. Like you were being a kid. And I said, I'm sorry that I put you in an environment where you were doing things that actually weren't fun and enjoyable because I thought they were just the right thing to do. And I'm sorry for putting that energy back onto you. And he was like, oh, like that really makes a lot of sense.
He was able to take that in?
Pardon?
He was able to take
it was actually, it was a really cool full circle moment. It's like really going from somebody who's like in that football environment and is now in tennis. I'm like watching him yesterday or on Wednesday, going far out. And like, you're really enjoying this, and he's a completely different kid and he's really doing something that he loves. And like, that was a really cool moment to come back to because I think I've been blessed in my life to be around a lot of different coaches, like spent my whole childhood in motels and on tennis courts watching my dad coach and being around all these different coaches at the college and seeing people get caught in that trap of, thinking that the environment they create needs to be forced on people rather than what you said earlier. Your whole role is actually just to cultivate an environment for people's brilliance and they will fall into that. You don't have to get them to be at any place. You just have to cultivate enough presence in yourself that allows an environment to cultivate excellence and for people to feel that space and really enjoy it and enjoy it because they're doing it because it's what they love to do. And if they don't love to do that anymore, you can give them a hug and be like, man, that's really beautiful. I'm glad you've realized that, which I see a lot of that in you, which is really refreshing. It's cool to see that impact that has on younger players in their sport.
Yeah. And that is hitting the nail on the head and why I actually do what I do. I love creating those environments, and it's not about trophies and winning titles and Yeah, I've got away from that now. That happened probably 3 or 4 years ago with Max. I remember him winning a third round Australian Open, and I turned to the trainer of Luke Seville and I said, "Do you really care about the trophy?" And he understands this stuff, and he's like, "No." And it was just the beauty of actually connecting with them as people, and seeing the freedom that Max was able to play with. I was like, that's what it's all about. And then I have other players that I've spoken to recently that that were in my squads at Wyong, like 4 years ago, and they've gone on to other things. They're not playing tennis anymore, but one in particular said, "You really helped me, with my ability to manage people." And ultimately, it's his ability to manage himself. He has all these tools that he can, just use in his life. And a lot of the players won't be world beaters. They're just gonna find the joy in playing the sport and become great people. And I think that's the reason for coaching. If I can unlock that, that's success all around.
I love that. It kind of goes off the back end of the conversation that we had the other day, where you kind of get caught in the thing of, maybe you're coaching locally in this smaller center, and you have the thoughts of like, man, I'm here. Like I should be like coaching on the world stage. It's like, or at this kind of grand level, and then you realize that no, you can actually do that. You can do that anywhere. You can do that anywhere, because it's not about I'm sure you experienced that in your playing career. Like, how many wins did you get? And you got the win and you were like, man, no, this sucks. Like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel happy.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be happy when I got this thing. Like when somebody gave me this like shiny little piece of silver that hangs around my neck that I'm going to go home and put in my cupboard and never look at again. But I have to, what's real is the experience that you live, and you realize that you actually have the ability to do that.
But the journey is the reward.
The journey is the reward.
Truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, and it's thrown around, and it's very cliche, but it is the truth. I think if it is all about the results, all about the trophies, then you're in that constant state of chasing something to fill that void, and really that void can be filled just with becoming present and connected. And then from there, it's the simple things: the grass, the birds, everything. Like coaching at Wyong Tennis Club instead of, at Wimbledon. Being at Roland Garros. It doesn't matter. It's all the same, because, I'm connected to me. The other players is connecting with themselves. So you have this beautiful synergy on court. That's it. It's the end environment doesn't matter.
Doesn't need to be anything more than that. Yeah. How can if people really resonate with that, how can people, say in the tennis realm or whatever realm, get around what you're doing? Like, what are you doing currently with Play Awake?
Well, I've created performance review books and a performance journal, that has sections in it. Well, the performance review book has an external review, which focuses in on the results and what's happened externally, which I'm not as interested in, but still, important for creating and working on the craft, on the and then the internal review, and particularly the limiting beliefs section, is working with players on the beliefs that cloud their judgment, that are unable to, that stop them from really connecting with what we're talking about. So helping them, really remove those. So doing off-court sessions with them. Dumping. There's in the journal. There's a section for dumping out all their thoughts. Without thinking, just letting the pen just write, and then noticing the limiting beliefs that keep showing up, the ones that are repeating, and then taking that into a session, and ultimately dissolving them. So then they're in the same environment, and they're like, oh, I feel lighter, I feel more stress-free now, and my arm's able to swing through the ball, and they think it's something to do with their shots, but it's actually to do with removing those beliefs that were inhibiting them from reaching that flow state. And that's the 70 matches that I talk about after my on tour career. I was able to connect with the flow state every single match. It just was a matter of time until it really clicked. So sometimes it'd be 5 minutes, sometimes it'd take 20 minutes. But every single one of those matches, I was free, and then with the freedom, I did lose the 3. So even the 3 that I lost, I was able to walk to the net, shake hands, and be really understand that feeling. I left it all out there, which I didn't feel on tour. It was always like, Nathan, you were the better player. What happened? I'd be like, I don't know. But yeah, I could shake and just walk away with I wouldn't say a smile. There's a little bit of disappointment, but it was really an acknowledgement that I did everything that I could. So I think just giving them those different tools to get them to think clearly, see clearly, feel, and get in touch with the reason that they're playing. Their big why. Why are you playing in the first place? And if you ask anyone that question, normally the response is for fun. Right? And so if it's fun, then why are we putting results up on and having that front of mind? You're playing a game, yes, but the results kind of just sit over here, and the joy of what you're doing, the fun of flowing with each stroke and what that feels like. If that's primary, you can't lose. So even if the scoreboard reflects that you'd lost, that flow is what you're, I don't want to use the word striving for, but the flow state is what the intention is. And the presence is the starting point. And then I do have a 4-step process that I'm working with players on. It's presence, analyze, visualize, experience. And so the presence we've spoken about. Analyze is questioning the beliefs that would inhibit that flow state, removing those. Visualize the pattern that you'd like to see, and the experience is accepting whatever comes. And so, it's pave your way. So take those steps, use them as you will. But I feel like this recipe has been refined over time. It's probably, what would it be now? Like 15 years of
alchemy.
Of alchemy, exactly. I've just been, my wife would say, obsessed. Yeah. I've been obsessed with refining on how to get this message across, and ultimately how to become a better coach.
Just how to become.
How to be. I mean, that's where it sits. Is how to become. The message can come through, on court, off court, and in everything I'm doing, but it's going to be more powerful like if I show up as myself, and that really authentic one. I feel like then the lessons can then land. Those seeds are more powerful and potent rather than me trying to do anything. So I think I continue to learn. I keep struggling with this this one that has to get it right. The perfectionism. I mean, even coming up here today, I started to think, what structure? What should we speak of? What question should I ask you? And then I dropped into meditation on the drive up, and the answer was just allow presence to allow that presence to draw the questions up, and then draw the experience up, rather than needing it to look a certain way.
I think when you connect to the experience, the experience ends up being pretty nice, pretty beautiful. We'll I'll put that in the. I'll put the links to those in the show notes. Nathan, I appreciate it. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your presence. It's been
Thanks,
awesome.
Jake. It's yeah, it's wonderful to connect with someone that can really like understand this, that there's something deeper happening. It's rare, I find, yeah, to actually have these kind of conversations. So yeah, thank you, and yeah.
Phenomenal.